So, I'm a bit of a roll this morning here. So, I want to finish up some of the thoughts that I was having before. As you can see, I'm wearing my official Episcopalian raiments, Radha's name. I'm speaking ex cathedra. So, you better take it seriously, my friends. This is coming from the horse's mouth. So, I was talking in the previous lecture. I'm going on with that about the pravartaka and the sadhaka and siddha. So to recapitulate, this is on my blog. I'll give the link, and you can go there and look and see what I'm talking about. But fundamentally, the idea is that there's a correspondence between what the Vaishnavas know as being the prakrita bhakta, the madhyama bhakta, and the uttama bhakta, or bhagavata. And those correspond in the Sajya system with a slightly different interpretation as pravartaka, which means beginner, sadhaka, which means practitioner, and siddha, which means accomplished. Excuse me a moment. All right, so that was the three-step process, or the way that the path is divided. So now, when these steps take place, you have to try to understand. They require a sea change, because what we're going from, as I concluded the talk last time, was just saying about how fear comes out of a sense of duality. So now Gaudiya Vaishnavas are not dualists. I mean, try to understand. We're Advaitavadis, we're Achintya Bheda Abhedavadis. So the Abheda gets the last syllable in there. And Bhagavatam makes it very clear, Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam. There's one tattva. But that one tattva, there's only one tattva. There's no ekami vadvityam. Nobody said we were superseding the Upanishads. Nobody said that Tattvamasi stopped functioning. Tattvamasi is there, but you have to understand it a little bit more profoundly than just simply saying Tattvamasi, that there's a one-to-one correspondence of Tvam and Tat, because Tat and Tvam will always be, you're equating two things that are different, so the difference is right there in the sentence itself. But the fact remains that there is one Advaya, undifferentiated truth, and some people call it Brahman, and some people call it Paramatma, and some people call it Bhagavan. And whatever we call it, we are a part of that. If you call it Bhagavan, if you call it, you're always there as an angsha. You're always there as a portion of that. You're interacting with that. You are God's self-created other, God's fractional mirror image. And you exist in that way, just like on one of those mirror balls. Millions of mirrors all making up little mirrors, and all flashing reflections in different ways. And in the same way, every one of us is a tiny little mirror, and we're reflecting God in that way. But it's a self-created thing. I mean, you're a part of God. You're not separate from God, ever. Never. It never happens. And right now you're not separate from God. You may have an illusion of separation from God. You may have forgetfulness. You may have lack of awareness. That's your problem. The connection is there always, right? So there's Advaita Tattva. We're not Vedavadis. But we are Vedavadis at the same time. Because we say, very simply, that love requires simultaneous oneness and difference. It's the only formula that works and completely perfectly describes what love is. If a person submerges himself in another person, that can be either love or it can be some kind of mental problem. Right? When it's mutual, then it's not a problem. It can be a problem, just like intoxication can be a problem. All right. So, pravartaka, and then there's the madhyama or sadhaka stage. Now we were talking about that. So the principal characteristic of the kanishtha, the principal characteristic of the pravartaka, is that he is learning about himself. And oftentimes, he doesn't learn the lesson very well. Because the thing about the kanishtha, what he's doing is he's building an identity. And to build an identity, you need an ego. And an ego is where, when you're engaged in spiritual life, you're supposed to be dealing with the ego. So the kanishtha way of dealing with the ego is to submerge the small ego into the big ego. Now that is a legitimate practice for a child, because that's the way a child learns, and that's the way a child is transformed. That's the way a child's psyche is constructed. That's the way we're going to willingly, consciously also, we decide that we want to construct our identity in the form of a Gaudiya Vaishnava. Now, the form of a Gaudiya Vaishnava, it has an external form and has an internal one. So, everybody will tell you that you have to go from the external to the internal, but nevertheless, you have to start from the external. You start from an external identity. Prabhupada was very intelligent. He made people put tilak on and do things like this in order to set them apart, to help them. He understood the importance of the external appearance for creating an identity. And I would say to those people who are in Krishna West that even if for the congregation you say no need for a dress, for the priesthood you certainly need a dress. You need to have someone who symbolizes the form of a devotee. Generally speaking, that's the guru and the religious leaders. So, the kanishtha is learning about his identity, and he goes from the external to the internal. Going to Raganuga Bhakti, he learns about what it is that's on the inside of a Gaudiya Vaishnava. What is it that, if the Vaishnava has good qualities on the outside, what is it that he's doing on the inside? What is the transformation that's taken place? Now, in our whole scheme of thought, the idea is that a devotee becomes transformed by love. There's that verse that I put, completely transformed by Gaura's love. That is a Gaudiya Vaishnava. So, the internal, thinking of Radha and Krishna. So now when you get to the internal thinking of Radha and Krishna, you have to understand, this has got profound psychological meaning. It's not just something that is taking place externally, but that's going on out there. No, it's going on in here. It's going on in here. What you're doing when you meditate on Radha and Krishna Leela is you're taking fundamental archetypes of the subconscious, the archetypes that form the raw material of the human psyche, the archetypes that represent various different instinctual patterns of human behavior. And what you're doing is you're cleansing them of the materials, that the mundane materials that distort and pollute, really, the formation of your personality. We identify ourselves with a lot of things, right? And some of those things are not so pleasant. And sometimes we're not such pleasant people. And we want to, the reason we want to become a Vaishnava is because there's a craving in some human beings. There actually is a craving. And that craving comes to some certain, very fortunate, intelligent individuals who realize that happiness lies in saintliness. That happiness lies in being imbued with the divine experience, and imbued with the divine character of prem, of love. You want to become that. It is a seeking out of identity. It says, when I say, who am I? What am I? That is what I am. Now, if I think that my identity is that of a Manjari, or if I think that my identity is that of a Brahmin boy in Chaitanya Leela in Navadvip, those are the Lord's Leelas. But what is the Lord's Leela? The Lord's Leela is to exchange love with His devotees. So in all these situations that have been given to us through avatars, those visions of a transcendent reality based on love, where love is at the center, those are the worlds, those are the impressions that we want to reformat. It's like we're rebooting our brain with a new identity. Whatever I was, you get a second birth. And with that second birth, you become the servant of Radha, the servant of Mahaprabhu, Gopi Bhartur, Padakamayo, Dasa, Dasana, Dasa. Everything that went before, Naham Vipro, Nacha Narapati, Napi Vaishyo, Nashudra, Naham Varni, Nacha Grihapati, Navanasto, Yatyeva, Kintu, Prodya, Nikhila, Paramanandamritabdhe, Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayo Dasa Dasa Dasa. Now this is your sadhaka swarup. When you get your sadhaka swarup, then you can become a sadhaka. So now what is the sadhaka? Sadhaka is a madhyama bhakta. Now madhyama bhakta, currently amongst the Krishna devotees, you often hear this idea of preaching, going out in the world and preaching, that this is the sign of a madhyama bhakta. This is alright, this is true, this is good. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean that someone who's doing bhajan is not possibly a madhyama bhakta also, or an uttama bhakta. Right? But nevertheless, your effort, the idea, the concept that Krishna consciousness is a religion, or is a process, a spiritual process that includes outreach as a part of its sadhana. Agreed. But we're now talking specifically about Madhura Rasa Bhajan. Now, we have a saying. Rupa Goswami says, Anarpita charim chirat karunayavatirna kalau Samarpetum unnatojvala rasam subhakti sriyam harih purata sundara ditis kadamba sandipita sadahridaya kandare suratu vaksa chinandana anarpita charim chira. Now, anarpita charim chira is very important because now that's the question. What was never given before? What was never given before? So, a lot of people have had difficulty with that. Anarpita charim chira. What is this thing that's never been given before? Well, depends how you describe it, right? But basically, the fundamental accepted conclusion that the acharyas have come up with is that that's madhura rasa. And if you examine Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and so on, and just try to see how madhura rasa has been separated from the other rasas. This is stated directly in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where the chapter on madhura rasa is very short. And it says, not here. This is not the place to discuss this in depth. Here's a very, very skeletal idea. We're doing something else about that expanded idea in Ujjvala Nilama. But it's not just there. There are other ways that madhura rasa is differentiated. For instance, in the second chapter, when it's talking about sadhana bhakti, then in Raganuga section, all the different rasas are separated, and that includes madhura rasa in swakiya, and that the parakiya rasa is given a totally separate category. Why is that? Because of its nature of having sexual congress as being a part of it. That makes it gudha. It makes it private business. It makes it secret. It makes it something that is very personal, you could say. Well, because it's very personal like that, it's not as easily contained within formulae. At any rate, Vrindavan Bhav contains the 5 rasas, and Madhura Rasa is only one of them, but Madhura Rasa is separate, and its bhajan is separate and different. And therefore, when it says Anarpita Charim Chirat, everything else that you have in the Bhakti path, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, those things have all been presented. But now what we're doing is we're trying to understand Madhura Rasa. So in order to understand, so this is why what I'm getting at here is that the madhyama adhikari, not adhikari, but the madhyama bhagavata. The madhyama bhagavata, it says, Ishvare tad adhineshu balisheshu dvishatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyama. So this verse is very important, and it's also very important to note that it has parallels in other systems. So the Buddhists and so on, they also, and the yogis, because this is in Yoga Sutra, these are called parikarmas, and they are also called Brahma Vihars in the Buddhist system. But the idea that there's karuna, there's for people who are less advanced, for people who are innocent, balisheshu, those people you are helpful towards, you are kind towards those people. You extend, you cultivate your feeling of empathy, and you teach what you gain. You help them along. What's been good for you, you give to others to help. Friendship. You need friendship with other persons who are on the path. People that you can share with. People who are, who will help you, who will share their realizations. People who are on the same level that you don't have to worry about offending them. That you can be open and so on. That you can trust. And then there's the prema maitri. So prema, this is the interesting one here, because there's prema ishvara. So your love is for God. So you're fixed on your channel. You're fixed on God. But yet you have these other relationships, practice love relationships, you could say. So it's bhakti, and it's sakya, and it's vatsalya, those three, or Dasya, Sakya, and Vatsalya. So Dasya, I'm the servant of God. I'm friends with the other servants of God. And those who are interested in becoming a servant of God, I will guide them. I will help them. And other human beings also, I'll be kind to them. And those who want to disturb my mind or trouble me, or people who are completely, distraction from my doing good for myself and good for others, that person I will avoid. So this is the madhyama stage. So now in all the rasas and in the yoga system and in the Buddhist system and all these systems, this is not a particular problem. A person who's a sannyasi, he can be friends, he can be guiding as a guru and giving his mercy to others, and he can be serving his own guru and serving God. So a sannyasi is not bereft of any of the rasas, except for Madhura rasa. Now, what is the Madhyama Vaishnava going to do in the Sakya category with a woman or a woman with a man? What happens here? A woman can be a devotee. I know I didn't have to say that. But isn't it foolish to think that a person thinks that of necessity? Now, I know that there are people who say that even a devotee wife, one has to renounce. Then we'll talk about that some other time. But for the time being, I would like to say that if you cultivate Sakya Rasa, if you cultivate Vatsalya Rasa, if you cultivate Dasya Rasa in real time, in real life, then also for Madhura Rasa, there is a real time, real life sadhana. And I think that's where I'm going to stop now. Jai Sri Radhe.